So today I'm going to invite you to look for a meditative quality within your practice. So we've been going through the limbs of yoga and we've been kind of lingering here a little bit on the seventh limb, dhyana, which is meditation. And one of the ways that you might consider looking for that meditative quality is to think about the way that our minds work. We've been going through the limbs and everything is kind of moving us slowly towards quieting our minds, which tend to be kind of like popcorn. We have all these ideas and we're distracted by everything around us. And so our minds are just going like this, like popcorn. Um, but yoga kind of like helps us, assists us in quieting things down and directing things, focusing our minds. So if you think about the way that, for instance, a stream moves, it runs into all kinds of obstacles. But when it meets resistance, the water will just kind of spiral and gently change direction and go around things instead of trying to blast through the way that sometimes we do in life and often we try to do in practice. So consider when you're moving today, when you run into any kind of resistance or friction, and that could be like something that requires more mobility than your body seems to want to have today, or more strength, or more or less of something, uh, just think about a stream. Can you navigate it gently, gently going around that obstacle? And over time, it might change. Over time, sometimes our bodies adapt and they carve through things the same way that water carves through rocks and stuff. And sometimes with time, our bodies change and they want us to resist a little less. Like we have to pull back in certain areas, and all of these things are fine. Just honoring where you are and looking for that quiet, meditative, um, really present quality to practice today. So we're going to start slowly and just with some breathing. So pay attention to your breath. Just notice how it's coming. And if you'd like to try this movement with your hands, I'm going to invite you to try tracing an infinity symbol, like a Mobius band, with your hands. And that kind of echoes the shapes that water makes, that kind of spiraling. And it's also when we're thinking about paying attention to the present moment, it's really just a series of moments that continues turning over constantly, and you can't really catch hold of it. You can only just try to frame it with your attention. So you might think about this hand movement as a reminder of that, so that when your mind kind of goes off into wherever it's going, the past or the present, you can see this turning over and over again of each moment that you can frame with your attention to be present. And one thing you might consider doing is maybe syncing your breath with the movement. So maybe on an inhale, you slowly bring it over to one side. And as you're turning over into an exhale, you flip it and go over to the other side. And notice if, as you're doing this, are you thinking about, oh, I forgot such and such? Or what about that thing that happened this morning? Can you try to just let that go? Those things will still be there. And you might consider making this movement a little bigger, maybe letting your whole body get involved. And you might try getting taller, reaching up a little higher, or getting lower and reaching down, maybe squatting down a little. And if you've made it big, make it a little smaller and come back to center. And from here, come over to a wall if you have a wall or someplace a little more stable to place a hand, and begin drawing that same Mobius band shape with one of your feet. So you're drawing it on the ground. And you can do it as quickly or as slowly as you like. And you can keep your toes on the ground, or you might try lifting your leg as you do this. Your knee can be straight or it can be bent. You might consider keeping it kind of soft and responsive. And if you're choosing to lift your leg, you might notice that this shape is very much like those hip swishes that we do very often to kind of warm up our hips. So whether you're doing it low to the ground or lifting it up. Release that and try it on the other side. So again, drawing that Mobius band shape on the floor with your toes, maybe deciding at some point to lift your leg up. And you might notice that this Mobius band shape, this infinity kind of figure eight, kind of echoes that sort of spiraling water current that I was talking about before. That happens when water meets resistance, like in a stream, how it gently moves around things. You can let that go and grab one of your blocks. Place it on the palm of your hand. So not grabbing it in your hand, but resting it, balancing it on top of the palm of your hand. And extend your arm out so your arm is now in external rotation. This is going to warm up your shoulder. This is our teacups. So you sweep your block around towards your body and then bring it underneath your body. And when you bring it back out, it's going to be your shoulder will be an internal rotation. Then sweep it up over your head and you'll be in the position you started in. So continue moving around like that and bringing in as much or as little movement in your body as you like. So this is not a precise thing. You're basically, we call this teacups because you're imagining you have a teacup balanced on one hand And maybe you're serving tea in a very fancy restaurant where they have this whole choreographed thing, and you come to the table and huzzah, there's your tea. You may notice that this requires some focus. So bringing you into the present moment. Maybe you look for that meditative quality in this movement. And then if you'd like to reverse directions, you might try that. So the block comes up over your head, back down, and around. And can you keep your breath steady as you're moving like this? When you're ready, you can switch to the other arm. So again, you start out with your arm in external rotation, holding that block out, sweep it around and under your body. Notice you're now in internal rotation, and then sweep it up over your head and back down. Again, this spiraling movement where you may encounter resistance, and if so, can you soften around it? Can you work gently with it? Thinking about the analogy of a stream, slowly and steadily making its way around all of the obstacles. And then if you would like to reverse directions and try moving in the other way, feel free to do that. And of course, if you drop your block, it's no big deal. They're soft. Unless, of course, you have a wooden block, in which case, please don't drop it. Maybe use a pillow instead. You can finish up serving tea and set your block aside.